Yo, boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Clutch Conversations. It's your boy Mike. Super excited about tonight. We got a really big time guest. So we're gonna get right into it. But first, before we do that, if you're not supporting US art, make sure you go out and do that. I'm gonna say it every week. If you're not supporting US art, make sure you go out and do that. But like I said, we got a big time guest tonight, so we're gonna get right into it. And without further ado, we got Mr. Bob Vu from Bob's Balls.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, man? What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
How's everyone doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Just got done with some work, and we're done for the day. So I got all the time for you.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So for the three people that just joined the Reptile Hobby like 3 minutes ago, introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
I'm Bob Vu. I'm the owner of Balls, and then I am a full-time ball python breeder. It's still kind of weird to say sometimes and tell people, but I just wake up and breed snakes, and that's all I do now. So we started here full-time in 2016, and it's been probably the best few years for the ball python market, in my opinion. The last I got in 2007 when the market was dying, and it's been dying ever since, apparently. But I got in 2007 when I went to my first Daytona show. I bought my first pastel ball python there. Before that, I had normals and stuff like that, and that kind of opened my eyes to like the morphs and all of that when I went to Daytona.
Gotcha.
So I started breeding 2 years after that. In 2009, I got my first clutch of ball pythons. And then I graduated college in 2011. The job market for my area of expertise is not very good. My degree is in psychology and sociology. Yeah, so the market wasn't great. I wasn't making any money. So I decided I was going to just continue breeding ball pythons. I did sales for a while. I was a director for an insurance company. So it wasn't like I was a broke guy and decided this is the only thing I can do. So in 2013, I became a director for an insurance company in charge of their sales training. I did that for 3 years. And then in 2016, told my boss I was ready to quit to do snakes full time. They thought I was pretty crazy considering I was making I had just started making six figures that year, the year before. You know, that was my first like $100,000 year. But I figured if I can do the moment I decided to quit ball pythons was that the moment I realized I can do $100,000 a year doing ball pythons. So why stress out and do sales, which I hated, absolutely hated anyways. Training people how to do sales and stuff like that was terrible. And I was actually in charge of training. So I was in charge of actually firing people too, which is the worst part of the job. So yeah, it was terrible. You have to wake up, you get an email come in and it says you have to fire 3 people today, and it's just not, it's just not fun. So my wife, or my girlfriend at the time and now current wife, told me, hey, just if you hate it so much and you love snakes so much, why don't you just do snakes? And it was a little bit stressful because at the time she was in school full time. She's a nurse now. She was in school for nursing. And so it was just my income, and we're like, okay, I'm just gonna quit my job that was guaranteed me 100 grand a year to go breed snakes full time. So that was kind of, I guess, a little bit stressful, but honestly, it's been the best decision I've ever made. And so now we're here and we have this facility. We're currently at 4 full-time employees that help me with all of this, which is was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, was to hire people on to help me with this. Because after I started doing, 80, 90, 100 clutches a year, there's just too many babies. You're looking at 700, 800 babies a year to clean, feed, and all that. So last year we did over 200 clutches. And at 200 clutches, you just can't do it by yourself, in my opinion. You need help. My wife has a full-time job, so it's not up to her to help me with this. So we decided to bring on people full-time. This year, we're expecting a bigger year than even last year. So luckily,
the 200 your record?
No, last year we did. Last year we did 260 and some change. 60, I think it was 263 was what we ended up by December. Wow. So this year we're looking for 300 clutches. We have more females. We didn't move. all of that. So I'm expecting 300 clutches this year. So we'll see how
I
it
am
goes.
hoping for 6.
Hey man, how long have you been in?
So we're actually fairly new to the game. We started back in 2020.
Hmm.
That's when we really got into it, and so we've only been in it for 2 years. We've had one clutch so far. Last year we had a clutch, and then we're hoping for about 6 this year. We'll probably pair about 8 to 10 females,
Yeah,
and then we're hoping for at least 6. And so
yeah. I tell
maybe
people
we hit
like,
10, but
yeah, when you're seeing these numbers like from these breeders, now we're way more transparent. When I first started, man, my first so in 2019 only had one clutch. I mean 2009, sorry, 2009 only had one clutch. It wasn't until 2011 that I hit double digits, and that was like my big year, right? 2011, 2012, I was hitting like 10, 12 clutches. And 13 was when I started getting into the 20s in the clutches. So it took
okay,
me, I've had a ball python since I was in the 8th grade, so I've had a ball python for a long time. And it wasn't until after I graduated college that I started getting double digit clutches. So, like when a lot of these newer guys are starting and they're getting 5, 10, 15 clutches, you got to think a lot of us started, very slow. And when I first started, there wasn't like YouTube, there wasn't like any of this to learn from. I literally I had to message guys like Albie Shoal. I messaged him, and he actually had to answer back and teach me how to build an incubator out of a styrofoam box. So I think you guys are at an advantage now. You can buy breeder females now. Back when I was starting, there was no breeder females. You buy a female and you wait 2 years. That was the only option at the time. So I think a lot of guys are getting in now are at a huge advantage.
gotcha. So you said you've been keeping since you were 8. Are ball pythons the only thing that you keep currently, or are you keeping other animals now?
So right now I have crested geckos, knobtail geckos, dart frogs, some beetles. I had some boas, but now they're on breeder loan. I sent them off with my buddy Eric Seto. He's about
DCIs?
yeah. So I had some Central American boas, and I had some leucistic rainbow boas. So I kept a few random species here. I still have one rainbow boa left here as a pet. Um, yeah, let's see, what else do we have? I have a blood ball. We have one anaconda over there, 2 reticulated pythons, one Burmese python. Ooh, what else is left? We still got a few random things. I just keep a few random pets.
Okay, so the boas are on breeder loan. You got 2 retics. Is it a pair?
Yeah,
Are you gonna breed
no,
those?
just pets, just
Just
pets.
pets. Okay. What about the geckos? Are you gonna breed any of
The
those
crested
or
geckos I do breed. I've been keeping crested geckos. Let me see, this is my 5th year with them. So I've been breeding crested geckos for a few years just for fun. Only we produce about 50 of them a year, and
okay?
I give them off to local pet stores or anything like that. I don't try to go to shows and compete with these guys. We don't produce a ton, about 50 a year, and the pet stores take a lot of them, and then any wholesaler that actually vends shows with geckos. I don't want to go out there. I'm a ball python guy. I'm not going to put geckos on display and and piss anybody off.
It's in the name, Bob's balls.
Right, right.
Just balls. um. So, so for the new breeders out there, obviously a lot of folks look up to you for advice and things like that. So, what's some good advice that you've got for the new breeders out there? Like, for example, new breeder just getting started is T0. How should they build their collection?
Okay, so for the newer breeders, right now it's really the best time to invest, and right now it's the best time to market yourself. With with social media, it makes it much easier. You have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all these platforms you can market yourself on. Attend more shows, attend a lot of shows, and get people to see you in person, and not bend the shows. I say attend the shows. I actually see a lot of these customers of mine. They'll be at Arlington, Tinley, Daytona, and I'll get a chance to talk to them at every show. We build
Mhm.
that personal connection. It's easier when they message me for advice or anything like that. I remember who they are. But to build your collection, I think you sent me the list earlier. You wanted to know like the ratio, sex ratio, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always tell people on my sex ratio for any project. Like let's say I'm getting into a hypo pied project or a desert ghost pied project, something like that. I
Okay.
always like to buy 2 males and at least 5 females, and the reason for that is A lot of seasoned breeders, you can ask them. You'll depend your whole season on one male, and then he either goes off feed or he stops breeding or anything like that can happen. So I always get a backup male. So I either get 2 identical males or a male that's very similar as a backup, and then I get five or more females into that project. Now, your pricing on your animals, I want people to be careful of that. Me and Josh, Jackie have been talking recently, and we're seeing a lot of reverse pairings that we wouldn't do. So when you buy your males, you want to spend the most money on your males, and then your females you can get multiples of, right? So let's say you want to do a clown pride, let's say a clown Desert Ghost clown project. That's a popular
Okay.
project right now. Depending on how much money you have to spend, I would buy, let's say, 5 double het females and or combos, or just double hets, and I would buy a male Desert Ghost combo het clown or a visual if you can afford it. But that way, your male is your stronger genetic animal because you're going to use him on all 5 females, and you're going to be able to spread his genes out on 5 girls, and he's genetically more powerful than the girls, which makes it more worthwhile to use. Because if you're going to drop $10,000 or $5,000 on a male, you want him to be able to reproduce himself or better multiple times so you can get your best return on investment. So that's what I want to tell people, because I see a lot of people buy like a pair. They'll be like, okay, I want to get into Desert Ghost Clown, so they get a pair of Desert Ghost as clown or clown hat Desert Ghost. The problem with that in this situation is that your female and male grows at the same size, same time. But also, a female can only breed 1 time a year. And if she slugs out on you or she only gives you 5 eggs and you miss the odds, that's it. Or instead of buying a Desert Ghost het clown female, you could have bought 4 double het Desert Ghost clown females instead. Yes, your odds are slimmer, right? You went from 1 out of 4 odds to 1 out of 8 odds or whatever, breeding to that male. But now you got 4 clutches. And on average, you're going to get, let's say, 7 eggs. So you get 28 chances instead of one clutch of 7 eggs, So you actually, right, it's a numbers game. So you want more eggs, more chances, and you'll have better return that way. And even if a female slugs out, it's not going to ruin your season. So anytime I get into a project, I like a 2.5 ratio, if possible, something like that. But right now, if people are investing, I always tell them, don't chase the projects. I see a lot of people out there just like, okay, well, I remember when Pompeii hit, right? Everyone and their mom went and bought out every single red stripe animal on Morph Market. It's an amazing animal, but then you have to realize buying a red stripe, you're still years and years and years and years behind, and you're going to buy in at the peak of the market. Everyone's buying them in, price has already increased. You're buying at the peak of the market. So when you're looking into these new projects, just go out there, go on Morph Market, find a project you like. It doesn't have to be the most popular project in the world, just whatever you like. The reason for that is in 2 years, even when that gene is even more popular or less popular, whatever, you're still going to be excited about working it instead of just, okay, your excitement on the project shouldn't be based on how popular everyone else is liking it or how anything like that. Because when I first started, I bought Orange Dreams. I bought a male Orange Dream. I paid a lot of money for him. And a lot of people told me it was stupid because it's a very regular looking animal. It wasn't, an Orange Dream compared to a pie is day and night. But I really liked the project. I really thought the Orange Dream in a super form and all that was beautiful. And I thought it was going to be worthwhile. And even when we produced some animals that weren't outrageous, I was excited about it. And I was able to keep pushing that project to making supers and making pies and making clowns and stay excited about it. And we ended up making a ton of money off of it, because I was already emotionally, I guess, invested in the project. I didn't kind of like just start selling it out because it wasn't popular with everybody, So, all right. So that's my little spill about how to invest.
So speaking of like buying and working with what you like, is there a balance, or should you just strictly focus on what you like, or is there a balance between focusing on what you like and focusing on what sells?
So that will depend on your level of where you are in the industry or hobby, right? All right. So if you're just a pure hobbyist, you only want to do this for the enjoyment of hatching animals, then you buy what you like. You just buy whatever you like. Once you get to the point where this needs to make money, like basically your wife is saying you invested 50 grand this year and you need to make some money back, right? So at that level, you have to then break down how you're going to make money off of this. Are you going to be a show vendor type person? Are you going to only do high-end animals? Are you going to export to other countries? Are you going to sell to pet stores locally, right? So that is going to determine what type of animals you need to hatch. So in 2016, I knew most of my money was going to come from shows, because that was actually the deciding factor. Was I went to a show and I did a little over $7,000 that weekend, and I said I can do this. So because I do a lot of shows, we produce a lot of show type animals. And when I tell people what are show type animals are flashy, eye candy animals that anyone can walk into a reptile show without knowing much about reptile or ball python morphs and still be wanting to buy this animal. And that animal is a blue-eyed Lucy. Blue-eyed Lucy is the most popular.
Blue-eyed Lucy's.
Right, everyone has to have one, right? It's the most popular pet ball python, in my opinion. And then years ago, bananas kind of took over. We do well on banana combos. Banana pies, banana clowns are still very popular. So animals like that, it's like your paycheck animals, right? Someone can come in, spend $350 to $400 on a blue-eyed Lucy, on $500 on a banana pie or a banana clown, something like that. And all of a sudden you sell 5 or 6 of those and you're having a good show. You sell 10 of those, you have a great show. You know, you make $6,000 to $7,000 after selling 10 banana pie type animals. So again, it's on the tier of where you want to be on this in this industry, and that's 100% decided by you, right? There's no one like, oh, you can't do this for a living. You trust me, you can, because I do it now, and I didn't come in this early. I didn't come in this with info that no one else had. You know, anything you guys need to know, honestly, you can find out. So that's kind of the tier of where what type of animals you need to produce, right? If you're only supplying pet shops, then you need to produce pet shop type animals, which
makes sense.
You know, are lower price. I guess I don't want to say lower end, but just lower priced.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum, pricing wise, I've been told to kind of like stay away from those like flavor of the day morphs as a new breeder. Reason being because a lot of times as a new breeder, your collection can't necessarily leverage the value of those flavor of the day morphs. For example, like a stranger or something like that. Right. What are your thoughts about that?
So remember the word flavor of the day, it's the day, right? 6 months from now, that flavor might not be there anymore. You know, like this, okay, taking stranger. The stranger price is held very high, very well, actually. I got very lucky when the flavor of the day was bananas. In 2012, I was offered bananas for very good, big money at the time, and I turned it down. In my opinion, I said, okay, that's the flavor of the day. Next year, they're no longer the flavor of the day, and I was right. The very next year, they're about 1/8 of the price, and then I bought in the following year. Okay. Now, the stranger has held very high value because the market overall has held high value. You don't want to chase, and let's say you spend $5,000 right now on a stranger. Next year's, remember, it's a codominant gene, okay? If I buy a stranger, I can produce 50 strangers within the next year because I have a ton of females. I can breed that male stranger to 10 females right now, and boom, I'll have 50 strangers. And that's why I try not to chase codominant genes so much. If you're ever going to chase something, chase a recessive gene. Let's say you decide to chase monsoons. You buy a male monsoon or you buy a pair of hets. Even by the time you produce a monsoon, the price won't drop tenfold or anything because you can't mass produce monsoons. It's much harder to produce a new recessive gene the same way you can produce a new codominant gene.
That makes sense. So do you think new breeders should focus on recessives starting out, especially kind of given the way that the industry is going? Like
the way the industry is going, I would suggest that you buy up recessives as your base. And like, let's say you want to do desert ghosts or clowns. So you'd buy like 5, 6 clown females, grow them out. That way, when the new flavor of the day comes up, right? Let's say a new gene comes out called the X gene. You buy that X gene male and you breed it to 5 female or 3 female clowns, automatically you have, boom, a male X gene het clown. You can breed back to your female the following year because males don't take that long, and you can produce X gene clowns instantly. I talked to
Right.
Dave Levinson last night, and he was like, how are you able to make voodoo clowns when you just started that project 3 years ago? Well, I was able to breed my voodoo clown male directly to a clown. I mean, my voodoo single gene male to a clown the first year, made hats second year, boom, in third year, we're making visuals. So by having that base of females, let's say you had 5 clown females, you can add a new gene in within 2 years. It'll be way faster that way if you build your base of recessive females around what you like. Obviously, I'm not telling you to go out and buy 5 clown females. If you don't like clowns, don't buy clowns.
Right.
Whatever base you like. I love desert ghosts, so I have a ton of female desert ghosts here. So this year we want to add confusions into them. This year we're adding voodoos into them, and then boom, all you got to do is take a confusion male, breed it to a desert ghost female. You have confusion hets. Very next year you can have visuals. So that's where it's so there's such an advantage to have these breeder females, recessives lined up.
Nicole from Lady Tiz Exotic says, "Take us to school, Bob."
Come on with it.
Dropping knowledge on us. So you mentioned earlier about how back in the day you couldn't really get breeder females.
Yeah.
You advise new breeders to kind of start off with some bigger females, like maybe like a good mix between breeder size animals and
I've
hatchlings.
been
What are
on
your
the
thoughts?
fence about this a lot, and I'm on both sides. I'm an advocate for both sides. The problem with a brand new breeder, let's say you've only been keeping ball pythons for 1 year. The problem with you buying a bunch of breeder females and breeding them immediately is you don't have the experience of actually even keeping snakes long enough to know what to do when an animal goes off feed, what signs to even look for when a female is developing, ovulating, or anything like that. But the advantage of that is you can always call someone like me or someone that's already breeding to ask for advice. But I tell people to go ahead and jump in with both feet. If you're going to invest and deep down you're going to be a breeder, you love this stuff, you love ball pythons, then go ahead and just produce a clutch. That experience of producing babies is like it's not like anything else, and you just
It's
need to go ahead and
amazing.
do
Not
it
only
and get
that,
it over with.
it's
Right.
amazing.
And you're hooked, right? You're hooked, you're just waiting for the next clutch.
Right.
So I think you just need to go out there and just do it. And buying breeder females right now, it's a little tough. Everyone's holding on to their females, but they're out there. When I was first starting, you can buy normal breeder females, and they're about $500 each. And that was it. That was the only option. There was no morphs, females with size, stuff like that. But now I'm seeing more options and more chances for these new breeders to go ahead and get experience. Like, why would you turn down free early experience? 1 year and you can have some babies. Do it. I would suggest you do it.
Gotcha. So do you think it's important in terms of equipment to kind of come right out of the gate with the nice equipment, or should you wait? What do you think the optimal strategy is?
This is going to be 100% again dependent on what you can afford. When I first started, I built some jankety racks. Okay, I built PVC racks, I built wooden racks, I built metal racks, I built racks that didn't last over a year. Just based on what you can afford. Remember, I was in college, and then I was out of college and a broke college grad out at that. So I've built all the racks before. Now we've invested in ARS racks because each clutch we hatch, we realize each animal basically here is worth an X amount of dollars. And I wouldn't risk my animals putting them into my own homemade racks because I suck at building racks. But let's say an ARS rack is $2,700, right? And it holds 40 breeder tubs in a 5540. It holds 40 breeder tubs. You divide that out, you're in for about less than $100 per tub. So each female is living in a space about $80 per tub. It's totally worth it. But for a new keeper, it's very hard to justify spending $2,800 on a rack. But the one thing that you should spend money on is always is thermostats. Don't ever cheap out on your thermostat and go buy one of those $20 Amazon thermostats. Always go for the good stuff. Don't depend your collection on a crappy thermostat. I've seen a lot of mishaps on that.
What thermostat do you use?
So I'm a Herp stat guy. Every rack in here is ran on a Herp stat.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm running Herp stats right now for the most part. I got a few VEs, but I've kind of like transitioned over primarily to Herp
The
stats.
VEs are fine. I've used VEs for a long time. I think those are the two most dependable thermostats. I really like Herp stats. I'm waiting for them to come out with the Web 6, which basically means you can connect all of your Herp stats to the internet and kind of monitor them from your phone. I think that's a pretty cool feature, but that's about the only other thing I'm waiting for.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I like the Herp stats too. They're kind of cool, and they're definitely reliable, super
Yeah, I'm trying to
reliable.
read the comments as I answer too.
Yeah, I'm trying to read them all. It's
Yeah.
sometimes hard to get to all of the
All
comments,
right. All right.
but I certainly appreciate everybody coming out, and I certainly appreciate everybody being active in the chat. Big E, he says facts. I love Herbstat and VE. Yeah, both of them are great
Yeah, they're
thermostats.
both good. They're both good.
And for those that don't know, quick promotion. We are giving away a Herpstat 2 as soon as we get to 1,000 followers on IG. We're almost there. We're like 940 something maybe. So we're
Hey,
not
there
far
you
away.
go.
So find the post on the page. Make sure you do everything. I think it's just liking the post, sharing the post, and commenting on that actual post. And that automatically enters you into that drawing that we'll do as soon as we hit 1,000 followers. So if you haven't entered it, definitely go out there because Herpstats are great.
Yeah, there's a good way to do promotion for your business right there, man. So you only hatch one clutch, right?
Uh-huh.
And then this year you're doing like 6 to 10 clutches. You're gonna be sold out with all the followers you have. You're gonna be sold out before you even need to post any snakes.
That would be dope. That would be dope. That's definitely what we hope. And then you were speaking about going to different shows. So that's one of the things that we're planning to do this year too, is kind of visit some of the shows. So far, the biggest show that we've been to is Daytona. We went last year. We couldn't stay long last year. We had a lot of stuff going on. And then we went the year before. But yeah, I want to get out to like Arlington. I want to get out to Tinley. I definitely plan on being at the Tinley show in October. Won't make it in March, but I definitely plan to be there in
Yeah,
October.
Tinley's next weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking
I'm,
forward to that. That's gonna be fun.
are you going to Arlington later
Yeah,
this
I
year?
bended Arlington last month. It was a really good show, and then I'm bending Tinley next weekend.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, so you spoke about this a little bit. I think it was Tuesday night or last night. I get my days confused. But at what point should a new breeder like legitimize their business for tax purposes?
Okay, so back when I was starting, there wasn't this info out there, so I just kind of flew under the radar for a long time. But after $20,000 of income from any source, let's say Square, they report you to the government. So you don't have a choice. You're gonna have to be legit anyways. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you make $20,000 or more on Square, they report you. In 2022, if you make more than $600 on PayPal, Venmo, or something like that, they're gonna report you. So, but when they report
1099.
you, right, they just give you a 1099. Remember, even then when you get a 1099, you can still file this as a hobby. But when you file this as a hobby, make sure you have your deductions and all that in a row so you don't have to pay taxes that way. Because we all know how much cost we have into this business. Rodents, racks, all kind of stuff, bedding. So in order to legitimize, I think at the point is when you're making any real money. When I say real money, you're talking about $20,000 or more. Anything before that, you're really considered a hobby. I did not start it. I did not start to file and get a tax ID number until when I went full time. And because before that, I was just winging it and just go. We're just accepting cash and stuff like that. I hope the IRS is not watching. They're gonna go back to the 2015 and be like, hey man, you owe us $80. But in 2016 I made $100,000, and I mean a lot of it was cash and stuff like that. But again, I spent probably half of that on snakes. So on paper, what you make on paper is when it matters, right? That's between Square, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, whatever paperwork you get sent. That's when you need to start legitimizing. And then also when your collection's big enough, when it's worth getting a tax ID number, so you can file for a business bank account. When you start to consider you want a business bank, business credit card, right? Because if you want a business credit card, so you can start a credit line, and that way you can let's say split it up between two people, me and an employee, or you and your husband or wife, something like that. Bob said breeders who stay in long haul go and buy in imports to prove out. Good question. Now, so once you're I guess I'm done with the whole spiel about legitimizing your business. Once you make enough money and you feel like you need to, then you should. And whenever you feel like that tax cap that you need to start paying taxes on, then you go and make it official. I'm just going to answer that question real quick about the imports.
Okay, you want me to
If
put it
you,
back up? Or are you good?
no, you're good. So with the imports, back in 2011, 12, 13, the imports thing was huge because every time you buy an import box, it seems like there's a new morph in there. Now, when you buy an import box, most of those morphs have already been discovered. Most, I say most, right? Because there's still new morphs being discovered. You're going to get a cool animal here, you're getting a cool animal there, but a lot of them are going to look like yellow bellies, Mojaves, and anything like that. The reason for this is now in the import boxes, the Africans have figured it out, that the guys in Ghana and stuff, the guys that are collecting these animals have figured it out. They said, wait, Americans really like these weird looking ball pythons. This is a nice yellow one. I'm going to put it aside and I'm going to contact someone directly in America and offer it to them for $5,000 instead of sliding it into this bag, right? 10 years ago, they just threw every ball python in a bag and sent it over here. Now they figured it out and they go, wait a minute, they're going to give us, you know, one of the first bananas was sold for $50,000 before it got to the States. You know, so there, you know, all these new mutations, those guys are already picking them out of those bags before they get to you. And then when they tell you it's unopened or whatever, dude, there's no way these importers are not looking in these bags, you know, taking a peek. If there's a yellow snake in there or an orange snake in there, they're pulling it out before they get you a bag of normals. Okay. They're not stupid. You're getting yellow bellies. You might get a phantom or a mystic or something like that, but you're not going to get anything too spectacular, I don't think.
Gotcha. Yeah. Have you gotten any of the import boxes?
I did. This is 2015. I ordered normals in, and then I just held a few of them. A good buddy of mine did the same thing, and that's how we ended up with the voodoo. It's an extremely granite animal, and again, it doesn't look very spectacular on its own. We bred it to a ton of stuff. This week, I made the first voodoo clowns, and it did come out pretty spectacular in my opinion.
Yeah, that was dope. I like that.
But again, that's like a gem in a very large crate of normals, you know, and it wasn't a spectacular looking animal. And it still took us 4 years before we actually realized what we had on our hands.
Gotcha. What all have you put voodoo into?
So I've done clown, desert ghost. We're breeding for ultra male hets right now. Me and Reggie from Urban Jungle are doing a little project with the ultra males.
He'll be on the show next week, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll see him there. I'll see him there. Yeah. I'll see Reg there. And then, so this year we're going to do some spot nose combos, some bamboo combos. So we're kind of mixing it up a little bit, maybe some cypress action.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of dope stuff. Stuff. So if a breeder's doing things right, when should they start seeing a profit if they're doing it for?
See, so I was going to get to this profit question. I was waiting for you to ask this. When you said, should you buy breeder females? Okay. Buying in breeder females is going to push you 2 years ahead of where I started buying babies and holding them out. You buy breeder female. Let's say even if you paid the high end dollars, right? Let's say you paid $1,000 for a breeder blue-eye Lucy female, which I've seen them for sale for that price before, about $1,000 bucks. You pay $1,000 for a blue-eye Lucy female. Most people are going to be like, "Why? That's crazy. Baby is only $350. Let's say you pay $1,000 bucks. A male breeder blue-eye Lucy is going to cost you about $300, $400, maybe even $500. On average, you get 7 eggs per clutch. On average, blue-eye Lucies sell for $350 to $400, depending on your market, which means you're going to make about $2,400 to $2,700 per clutch, depending on your sex ratio.
Okay.
And you spent $1,000 on that female. You still have her next year. You can keep breeding her every single year. You can still breed that male every single year. I'm not saying going out and buying a bunch of breeder animals, but that alone is going to offset a lot of your costs. And that's why we breed a bunch of blue-eye Lucy clutches here still. If you're doing everything right, I feel you should be able to make a profit in this business within 2 to 3 years. Have you heard of Miguel Garcia by any chance?
I might have heard of him.
I think he spends an absurd, well, I would say absurd. He spent a large amount of money his first 2 years in the industry. I know that because he spent some good money with me. By year 4, I believe he was already like tripling what he was spending. Like, I mean, year 3, he was already in the profit. And I can tell you right now, he makes damn good money doing this. But again, he built the brand, he built the market and all that. But by year 3 and year 4, your females are laying eggs. Year 4, you're getting a second clutch out of them, which is pure profit at that point. You know, so by year 3 and 4, you should be seeing a profit, which is way better than like most investments and most businesses that open. You know, I'm seeing restaurants that open and they don't make a profit for the first year or two. You know, so it's hard to beat this industry, honestly. The amount of money you make.
And then the margins can be high too if you're doing
right. You're making. I mean, you buy a male. Let's say you spend $1,000 on a male, right? And you spend $5,000 worth of females. That's $6,000 invested. Each clutch, when you breed $1,000 male to $1,000 female, each clutch is going to be worth $3,000 to $5,000. And you get 5 clutches for 3 years straight. You know, like you're making 10x money. You know, and that's just unheard of in most investment. You're making 10 times the money in 3 years, and I've done that 100 times. It feels like every time I buy a male, I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be a huge investment. You know, one of the most expensive animals I bought was a $10,000 desert ghost pied male. And at that time, I knew I was getting serious because I just spent $10,000 on a freaking snake. Yeah. All right. He was 100 grams. Okay. So desert ghost pied male. I don't have any desert ghost pied females. I don't have any desert ghost het pied. I don't have anything in that project. I just bought the male. Now, when you're making that type of investment, the $10,000 animal, you have to be pretty sure of your husbandry. You have to be pretty sure you can get him to breed in X amount of time. So I bought him in. He was 100 grams. In 8 months, I got him to about 700 grams and started breeding him. I only bred him to pied females and desert ghost females. That's all I have. I don't have desert ghost pied animals. He breeds to a single gene pied, my biggest pied female. She gave me 11 eggs. Now, every single one of those animals are pied het for desert ghosts.
Right.
And that was 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years. That one was 2018. Yeah, 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, I have 11 pied het desert ghost animals. I made $30,000 off that first clutch that he sired.
That's with holdbacks.
Right. You're 3xing with one clutch. And then it's not like he's only breeding one female, you know, and I still have him and he's still breeding, you know. So when you make those type of investments, just make sure you have the animals to back it up. You have enough females or you have enough males or whatever it is to make sure that investment is worthwhile. We just bought our most expensive animal in here about 6 months ago, and he has already sired 2 clutches. I bought him in at 200 grams. We got him breeding in about 4 months after that, and now he's already sired his first 2 clutches. Or well, they're about to lay. So I don't want to count my eggs early, but he's going to sire about 6 clutches this year, and each clutch I'm anticipating to make as much as I paid for him per clutch. You know, so we're going to make about 6 times what we paid for him in the first year, and then again his holdbacks and stuff like that. So when you're making huge investments like that, just make sure you have the animals, and you'll do just fine. You should be making a profit within 2 years of every investment.
Just make sure you got the animals to leverage the investment.
Right. You have the leverage for it, and you have the knowledge for it. You know how to keep the animals. You know how to get them to grow right. You don't want to overgrow your males. I've seen that happen too. If you push them too hard, too fast, they'll actually get obese and not breed. And that's a real problem. People don't realize that these obese males can't actually breed for long. They can breed 1-2 locks and then they're done. Just like, no, I'm not gonna.
Biggie from Ebony and Ivory Reptile says, "Are you selling any males?" I'm assuming he's talking about the voodoos.
I will be letting some go. I sold some this year. We're kind of limiting on how many I breed because I don't want to flood the market with that project. But I will be letting some go. Hit me up on Instagram and we'll chat about it.
Okay. And then Wiz says he can't wait to see the Voodoo GHI.
Ooh, that's gonna come up soon. That's gonna be about I got a buddy in Alabama. He got the Voodoo from me a year ago, and he bred it to a GHI female. So we'll find that out in about a few months. I didn't do it myself just because I wanted to leave some room for everybody to make money in the project. So I didn't. Some pairings I haven't even done yet.
That's dope. So Nicole from Lady Tiz Exotic says, "When do you breed your males?"
At night. No, I'm kidding. So my males generally start around 600 grams. You can start them. I've started males as young as 400 grams, or not young, as small. The problem with starting a 400-gram male, he'll breed as long as he's mature and has producing sperm, he'll breed. The problem with that is if he goes off feed for 2 weeks, you're done. You got to pull it and you got to let him rest. At 600 to 700 grams, I can breed him, once a week for 3 weeks a month, and usually they'll go through the whole season. If you give them a little bit of time, some people wait till their second year. I usually wait till 700 grams, which for me is going to be about 8 to 9 month animal, and that seems to be a really good range. Anything over 1,500 grams as a male, I feel is a little large. So I like to keep my males anywhere in that 8 to 1,200 gram range. Some males just won't get that big, and because they're breeding and they're just eating smaller meals. So 800 to 1,200 grams is where you want to keep your males. They don't get lazy that way, and they won't get skinny either. So as long as you can keep them eating at least twice a month, you're good.
What's your trick to get your males who go off feed during breeding season? What's your trick to get them back on food as soon as possible?
Back on food. Okay, so if you want your this happens to everybody. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. Once you start breeding your male, that's all they're gonna want to do. They only want to breed. Okay, certain males will eat throughout the whole season. I have males that'll eat throughout the whole season, so you can breed them all year. If your male goes off feed, you need to remove him from the females. He needs to not be in breeding mode, if you will. So it's best if you have a rack in another room or something like that, and just remove him entirely to where he can't sense females. And once he hasn't paired for 3 to 4 weeks, he'll eventually get back on feed. Put him in a smaller tub, offer him a mouse. Mice seem to get these males going way better. So during breeding season, my heaviest males that are my heavy hitters are only offered mice. They only eat mice. I offer them jumbo mice, and they'll eat 1 mouse a week. And about 3 to 4 weeks a month, I'll feed them jumbo mice. But I don't give them rats. It seems, I don't know if it's the fat content, but generally makes them a little lazy for me personally. Okay, this is not like the Bible. This is not you have to do this. But I only feed my breeder males that are currently breeding heavy. They only get mice, and it seems to keep them going pretty good.
Gotcha. That's good to know. I'll keep that in mind. So next question. So what should your strategy for reinvesting back in the business be? And this is reinvesting money and also holdbacks too. We just kind of
right. So the reinvesting strategy is a little tough because everyone wants to keep reinvesting, right? You want bigger and better every single year. But the secret here is also you got to pay yourself. There has to be some payout, because if not, it's very difficult for your significant other to realize that this is actually a real thing. So in 2016 and 17, I didn't make a lot of money because I reinvested. And after that, we started making enough money where we can pay ourselves, vacations, cars, stuff like that.
Sure.
But on the reinvesting part, I use Justin's method. 10%, the top 10% of everything you produce, you should hold back. So basically the top 10%, the best animals you produce, you should be your best customer, and you should keep that animal pretty much. Okay. So each one of these racks, if it says HB on it, there's a ton of animals. It says HB holdback. I slide it to another rack and we just keep it. So every year I keep about 100 animals back. Remember, I have a very large collection. I would say very large. I have about 600 animals. So every year we hold back 100 animals. I can replace 1/6 of my collection entirely the following year. So we kind of just keep rotating that out. And I feel if you're not replacing your collection and not improving your collection, you'll eventually fall behind and become a dinosaur in the industry and fade out.
Yeah, right. So you kind of rotate yours out like Ozzy does, kind of. It gets better and better.
Because it's hard. You don't want to just keep adding more, right? Because first of all, you're going to add more work, and you're going to get to a peak where you can't take care of the animals as good as you want to. The moment that you open a tub and you're like, man, that tub's gross, or you haven't, checked that tub in a while because you ran out of time or something, that's when you need to downsize. So this is at the peak of everything that I want to do. I don't want any more animals in this. I don't want to add more racks. I don't want to add more rooms. I don't want anything like that, because this is at the peak of what we can handle. Even at the peak of baby season, we already know how many babies we can handle. Last year, we had 1,200 babies in this room, and we were still able to feed, clean, and water every single baby every single week. Then that's your peak. But at the point where you can't take care of these animals like you're supposed to, and it's unfair to the animals, then you need to downsize. So then you got to replace animals. So your holdbacks, if you hold back 100, you got to sell 100. So every now and then I'll sell breeder females and breeder males, and people will see that. That's why I get those messages constantly. I'll go to shows and I'll move 1 or 2 at a time, especially if the genetics are not useful for me anymore, basically getting replaced by their daughters or something like that.
Sure.
But that's how you constantly evolve and constantly upgrade your collection.
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep my eyes peeled for some breeder females. So, in your opinion, what's the most important trait that a person needs to be successful in this industry?
I think that's tough because there's a lot of traits that make someone successful in business. I think in this industry, if you're just passionate about what you're doing, you're gonna do fine anyways. I see a lot of guys that quit. The guys that quit didn't actually enjoy the animals to start with, in my opinion. Because if you truly love reptiles, it's so hard to quit. And even when you do, you just downsize. You just still keep reptiles.
Gotcha.
And I've gone to a lot of points in my career, I guess, in this where I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm done. This is BS. You go out to a rat room and it floods and you lose a rack full of rats, you want to quit. But you got to remember, you got to feed snakes tomorrow. You know, these animals got to eat tomorrow. You got to call somebody and order in some rats. You know, so I think if you're passionate enough about this industry, you'll do fine. And when you're passionate enough about this industry, other people will realize it. And like-minded people, two people who are passionate about reptiles will continue to talk about reptiles for hours. So when I go to these shows, I ended up connecting with a lot of breeders, a lot of new people about reptiles. We just sit there and talk. And you'll eventually make a lot of good friends and mentors who will eventually push you through this industry. They'll just help you out. I've had so many situations where I've had to call people and ask for help, dude. I've had females either get egg bound. I had a female get egg bound last year for the first time. I've had 1,000 clutches of ball pythons. I haven't had a female get egg bound until last year. I had to call somebody. You know, stuff like that. And you just need help eventually. But if you're passionate enough about this, you'll make good friends and they'll just help you out.
Speaking of like making friends in the industry, I think I forget which show it was on, but I think I heard you saying that you met a guy at a reptile show. Now you're maybe this has already happened though, but you were his best man in the wedding.
Oh yeah. So me and Frank actually we're having an auction this weekend at a show in Atlanta for USARK. We've been doing this auction. We've done it 5 times already. We've raised over $150,000 for USARK with our own auctions. But I met Frank at a Repticon, probably 2011, and he was selling ball pythons there. And we've been, chatting back and forth a little bit. But once I started vending in 2015 and 16 with him, we became really good friends. I ended up being his best man last year when he got married. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
that is pretty cool. Yeah, you meet a lot of good people in this hobby.
Sure.
I met some really cool people. People. So I can't wait to get to some of those bigger shows.
Actually, all my friends now, like my best friends, are all snake guys. We've been knowing each other for 10 years. You know what's the worst part about that? Not to say worst part. It's just weird. So I grew up in Americus, Georgia. Okay, and I went to college and all this. And then, so when I got closer to Atlanta, I have more Asian friends up here. Like very, very few. I'd say like 8 Asian friends. And they've always told me like all your friends are white. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, you have like all white friends. Well, the reason for that is reptiles is a predominantly white industry, right? When you first get in, 90% of the guys, well, 99% of the guys that were breeding ball pythons when I got started were white dudes. So they're all my friends. Now I'm starting to get more black friends finally, because the black community has finally made it okay to keep reptiles, it seems like. 10 years ago, dude, if you were a black guy buying a reptile, people just thought you were weird. You're just a weird dude. Now we have a community where we made it okay. There's no longer that stigma of, oh, you keep reptiles, you're weird. In the Asian industry, I'm super weird. Asian people don't keep reptiles. It's just a weird thing. And my parents thought it was weird. All their friends think it's super weird. And so I made a bunch of money. Finally, now it's starting to become okay in the Asian community a little bit because I export a lot. I export to Thailand, Indonesia, Korea, and Japan. So now they're starting to accept it. But I'm so glad to see the black community embrace it, because when I was growing up, dude, in Americus, Georgia, and I had snakes, black people look at me like I was crazy. Like they were like, man, this dude is crazy. He keep a snake in his house. And finally, and I knew my black friends were interested They just couldn't do it because all their other friends thought they were crazy too. But now it seems like finally that you're able to do it without looking like crazy to everybody else, you know. So and that's why all my friends were like, "Oh, your friends are white." I'm like, "Well, it's because I'm in an industry that's predominantly white." And then now finally, I had last week, I had Antoine and all those guys come visit me. And I'm like, so I can finally post a picture. I'm like, see, I have 4 black friends here at least, you know.
Yeah. So you said you're from Americus, Georgia? That's not far from where I'm
America's
from.
Georgia. They're like South Georgia, South
Yeah.
Georgia.
I'm from
Yeah.
Valdosta.
Oh shoot, man, my
Yeah.
my wife went to Valdosta State.
Oh, word? I went to
Yeah,
Valdosta State. Yeah,
yeah,
go Blazers.
yeah. She actually she grew. She was born and raised in Tifton, Georgia, about like 30 minutes
Okay.
north.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Small world. Small
yeah,
world.
yeah.
So yeah, because I know the first time I reached out to you about a snake, I saw you had a 229 number. So I knew
Oh,
you're
okay, yeah.
from
You knew us
somewhere
in
in the
South
area.
Georgia area. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Small world though, small
Yeah.
world. So kind of the flip side of the last questions, or what's something that you think will make someone unsuccessful in the hobby? Like,
Ooh. So I've been in this long enough where I've seen guys go in and out of the industry. I've seen a lot of racism, um, just pure ignorance, arrogance, and just dishonesty. Those, I mean, these are just bad human qualities that cause you to become not able to do well in this industry. When I first started in this industry, there used to be a group on Facebook called Natita. It stands for Noobs in the Industry to Avoid. A lot of the old school guys know this group. It was ran by a predominantly racist group of guys who wanted to keep this industry white or right, right? They said white is right type deal. And they used to make a lot of memes about me, about how I would never make it, blah, blah, blah. You know, they called me all the racial slurs you can never think of. I had to Google some of those. And they did the same thing to the black keepers. And eventually people looked at it and they got sick of it, you know, and those guys are all out of the industry by now. And then you got to look at guys who have sold hets in the past that don't prove out. Guys who are just dishonest about their animals. You know, just stuff like that. Just bad human qualities. I think like that's just you just won't make it. You know, you won't make it in any industry, much less this industry.
gotcha. Nicole says, "Look at me now." So I
Yeah,
bet you all
yeah.
those guys who were hating on you back in the day, they're
Yeah,
probably
some of those
mad as
guys
hell
it was
now.
brutal, man. It was brutal. I saved those screenshots from like 10 years ago from when they sent me some of that stuff. I had to Google. I don't know if I can use the term on the internet. I had to Google the term zipperhead. I didn't even know what that meant. That's what they called me in those
I
groups.
never
I don't
heard of
know what
that
that.
either.
So it's a term for during the Korean War, they would call dead Koreans zipperheads because they used to run them over with the tanks. So you used to call them zipperheads, and they called me
That's
that, and I said I don't even know what that means, you know, and I had to Google this
neither
stuff.
did I.
Yeah, these guys had to go Google racist terms to call me. That's how bad they were back then.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, they're probably mad as hell now. Damn
yeah.
Bob.
Well, and they're all outside. They're all doing crack or something somewhere else.
All right, so you already kind of. I was gonna ask you about holdback strategy, but you already kind of spoke to that. So what about like your new pickups? You have a strategy for new pickups? Like how do you identify what you need and how are you looking forward? Or you
So
what
I'm
are your thoughts?
constantly online. I'm constantly looking at what people are producing. This year we picked up a few males. I predominantly pick up males and produce my own females. Okay. I'll pick up the reason for that is I like to drop big money on the males. I'll produce my own females and hold back 5 or 6 of them at a time. Um, when the genes are just right. So the problem with getting, again, I think you put it into one of the notes. Once it gets to a level, let's say at my level, where you've been doing this for a few years, it's very hard to go find new stuff because you have to have, it has to be a pretty powerful animal for me to need to add it to my collection. But when that animal comes up, you just got to buy it. And it could be a $10,000, $12,000 animal. You just got to buy it because there's not that many of them that are produced. In that situation, you're following guys that are like Miguel, Justin, and stuff like that, and you're waiting for them to actually produce this animal. So you get on a wait list or something like that. But for anyone newer looking to add new stuff to their collection, it's an amazing tool to have is Morph Market. Go on there, you can honestly almost see the end product, right? You can see what it will produce down the road and see what the projected price is and all that stuff to buy in the right animals. For me, I bought in this year 5 new males already. It's, oh my goodness, it's 2000. It's March, and I bought 5 new males already. And we're holding back. We're holding back more males than we've ever done before because I ran out of males last year. I held back out of the 100 animals I held back last year. I think it was like 90 something were females. Everyone thinks keep holding back females. I ran out of males. I ran out of good males. I had to go buy new males. So when you're looking to buy in, I would suggest you produce your own females and then go buy in your males a lot of times like that. Because you can buy in single males that are strong, and you can produce multiple females. It wouldn't cost you as much that way.
Gotcha. So you mentioned waiting lists. Do you keep waiting lists for certain morphs?
Oh, I'm so bad at that. I have a lot of people ask me to get on a waiting list, like Desert Ghost Clowns and stuff. I always forget to make a list, and it was just like first come first serve. So actually, that's the reason I'm doing my Tuesday videos. That way, when they come out of the clutch, I'll show the video, and then you can just go ahead and buy it out of the egg. I'm having a lot of people put deposits on them. I'm actually really liking that. So Tuesdays from now on, I'm just going to show you every single clutch that's hatched for the week, and you can just get on and deposit on the animals you want. It'll be so much easier.
Speak a little bit about the Tuesday shows, because I know you started like a couple of weeks ago. I think you did Facebook and IG the first week, and then last week you did Facebook via StreamYard. So
yeah, so I was trying to do like where I can do IG and Facebook at the same time, but IG doesn't allow a third party to stream through them. So now I'm going to do Facebook and YouTube, which seems to get pretty good views. The reason I did that was because Antoine Hood, he was over here and he was telling me I need to get a Patreon. That way people can go on there and buy my animals as they hatch. Well, the problem with that is I've always been like this guy where I just like to give my information away for free. I hate charging people for stuff that I got for free, right? I'm Googling this stuff. I shouldn't have to charge you to know things I already know. So people can just watch me for free on Tuesdays. I talk for 30 minutes. I'm just going to show you every single clutch that hatches, because we're starting to hatch more now, 2-3 clutches a week at least. So I can show you every single clutch that hatches. If you're interested in something, you can go ahead and message me or talk to me live, and I'll just put that animal aside. This avoids me having to do a wait list, because then you can just go on there and buy it as soon as it's out of the egg. You don't have to wait for me to put it on Morph Market. And then I have people complain to me like, hey, I wanted you to message me when you hatch one of those, and I post it on Morph Market and it gets sold or something. But you got to consider also, I have 10,000 followers on Instagram. I can't remember who everybody wants to wait on a certain morph. I forget, and then someone's going to get mad.
Spend all your time managing those lists.
Right, just by managing those lists. So now with this live video, you can just hop on and just buy the animal as soon as it comes out of the egg. Way easier. And you guys going to get some good information out of me. I'll give you tips on pretty much whatever you guys need to know.
So it's Tuesdays at 8 p.m.
Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be live on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, so check it out, y'all. Check it out. It's gonna be some dope animals premiered on that live. So definitely check it out, y'all.
Yep, you get first view of it.
All right. So you've obviously been super successful, but success doesn't come without some hardship along the way. So can you speak to like maybe one of your biggest failures or your biggest setbacks, and more importantly, kind of speak to how you bounce back and what you learned from it?
I've had a good bit of setbacks in this industry. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, the worst setback I had was I actually wanted to what warranty is placed on a $20,000 ball python? Same warranty as a $200 ball python. Honestly, you get the same health warranty and everything. Every animal, in my opinion, that should have the same warranty. Just because it costs you more money doesn't mean you can go and abuse it and I have to give you a new one. No, I'm kidding. But no, we give the same warranty for all the animals. The biggest setback in this industry, I haven't had like catastrophic failures where like, stuff burned down or anything like that. Honestly, the biggest setback was during my battles with those racist guys, I honestly was going to quit the industry. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, they don't want me here. Like I can't be successful in this industry if people are not willing to buy from me because I look different than them. And that was a true thing back then because I was the only one that looked like me in the industry at the time. You go to shows, it's 99, it's like probably 99 white dudes, me, and like 4 black guys. And one of them's Ozzy, and he's been extremely successful his whole life. And I wanted to quit. at that time, I told my wife I kind of wanted to quit. They were taking pictures of my family. They were, making memes out of my family pictures and stuff like that. And it just got so toxic. I was like, this industry is terrible. And at the time, I wanted to quit. But again, I told, like I mentioned, if you are passionate enough about the animals, you'll stay in. And I said, I'm going to quit, but I'm going to keep reptiles anyways. Then why the hell would I quit? I'm going to keep snakes anyways, because I've kept reptiles my whole life. Why would I quit the industry just because of a few bullies? So that was kind of a rough patch for me during those those months where it got really rough. Other than that, man, I honestly haven't hit any real setbacks. We have fail safes here. We have generators and everything for like anything that can actually happen reptile related. Rats will be rats. You'll have months where you have bad production. Well, you set up a backup. I have 3 guys I can call and say, hey, I need 300 rats. They will, I can just drive and meet them. I've driven to shows before with rat containers where I drive back with 500 rats in the car. I've done that before. So as long as you have all your backups, set up your backups, and you'll be fine. You have a rat guy, you have a backup rat guy, you got a mouse guy, you have bedding backed up, you have a generator. Then you're going to be fine. I think if you set up enough, and again, I've always been, been prepping for all this stuff. Power goes out, we have, everything ready already. My wife knows what to do if I'm not home. My employees know what to do if I'm not home. So I haven't really had any major setback. Knock on wood, nothing ever happens. But in that sense, but emotionally, I've wanted to quit before. But again, like I said, if you're passionate enough about the reptiles, it will just keep you in it.
Gotcha. Great answer. Great answer.
Thank you.
So we're going to hop into the DeLorean and go to the future. It's the year 2075. The ball python market is still dying.
It's been dead for a minute.
Yeah, the industry is stronger than ever. Ball python breeders of 2075. What will they remember Bob Vu for?
Hopefully they'll remember me for being as supportive of the industry as anybody. The one thing that I would like to be known for in this industry is for giving back. I've been put in a very blessed position to be able to give back to the industry. Going to USARC and donating to them. If you're not a USARC member, it doesn't matter what account you get. Just get a membership. It's $40 a year for the lowest membership. Get it so you can stay updated. But if you're I've just been able to be in a position where I can donate. I can go to these auctions. If you ever attend an auction that I'm there, you'll see me spend a stupid amount of money because, again, we make a stupid amount of money for what we do. So I always donate back to keep the industry going. I've been able to do auctions and raffles to benefit other things other than the reptile community. Last year, we raised over $10,000 for Australia when they was burning down. We're able to donate $10,000 to them. This past year, this past Christmas, I was able to donate $7,500 to Toys for Tots. Again, some of it comes out of my pocket or animals or whatever, but it's mostly the community that does this. I'm just able to be put in position to where I can make a post and say, hey, don't give me $10 and I will give you a position to where you can win a snake. And I got $7,500 from other people to donate to Toys for Tots, and we're able to buy a large amount of toys for all the kids around here because we had over 700 children in our area that didn't have Christmas. So we're able to provide for them. So that's what I'd like to be known for, hopefully, eventually, is how I was able to use this industry to support other people.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another good answer, bro. I like that one. So you mentioned giving back, and who's been one of your mentors?
I would have to give a lot of this credit to, I have so many mentors. When I first started, the first guy that sold me reptiles, like truly took me in, was Albie Scholl. I Googled reptiles near me, and actually it took me to Albie's house, and I knocked on his door, and he said, come on in. I literally went into his house. He's showing me these racks, and he showed me a very first piebald ball python I've ever seen. And I bought a leopard gecko from him that year, a Max Snow leopard gecko. He sold it to me for $75. And he was telling me, if you breed this Max Snow to a normal, you'll get Max Snows. You can breed them back together and make supers. And my mind was blown at that point. And I was hooked ever since. And he taught me how to build my first incubator. my first racks and all of that. And I was lucky enough to have him at my house for Thanksgiving last year. I was able to have him come down and see how far we've come. He lives about an hour away from me. He's a huge foodie, so we're able to share a lot of food tips and stuff like that.
Is he still breeding?
Yes,
Anything?
Albie is a very big, good breeder in Atlanta. He's actually donating $1,000 ball python to our auction this weekend. So
Nice,
Albie, yeah,
nice.
he's been doing very successful at this for years. He's a musician also.
Oh,
But I've had so many mentors in this industry where they've kind of taken me and just helped me out. Even if I don't call him personally my mentor, I had a guy locally, Charlie. He's been helping me with everything around here, rodents, bedding, everything. And we ended up going into business together because of that. After I realized how genuine they are about helping me. You see a lot of crappy people, dude, but you'll have 10 times the amount of good people you'll meet in this industry.
gotcha, gotcha. What's the name of? Is it LB?
It's Albie's Too Cool Reptiles. It's Albey. If you look up Albie Shoal, he's one of the top dogs for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
I just
he's
have to
been
write
in
it
this for a
down.
while. Hell, he was breeding $1,000 leopard geckos back then.
Yeah, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
So I'm not that familiar with like the leopard gecko market. Are there a lot kind of in that price range or what?
Not anymore. The leopard gecko market was really hot when I was getting into it. I was breeding. I bred leopard geckos. Before I invested into ball pythons, I did high end leopard geckos. I did
Uh,
enigmas. Unfortunately, back then, it's basically the spider of the leopard gecko world, and I invested heavily into that. And I was selling $500, $700 leopard geckos back then, left and right, like shipping them out easy. Now, because leopard geckos are so easy to breed, they produce 20 eggs a year. Females can produce up to 20 eggs a year. You can keep a colony of them in a small tub. Their market has pretty much kind of dried up on them. You got a high end leopard gecko is about $500 to $700 now for the black knights. Most of your leopard gecko combos are going to be within the $100 to $150 range. But again, it's still good money. You can still produce 20 geckos from one gecko. That's still $2,000 per female that you can still produce. So it's good money still.
yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. So ball python industry next. Where do you see this industry going in the next, let's say, 10 to 25 years? Like, what are some trends? What are
A
some
lot of it's going
weaknesses?
to be dependent on where the pet industry is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. As you all know, there's the lawmakers aren't really fond of our industry.
Right.
PETA, Humane Society, they're constantly attacking our industry. I feel like ball pythons are safe just because of the nature of the animal. Stay small. They're gonna attack the reticulated and the Burmese python mostly, and the boa python, boa constrictors mostly on that market. So you're watching python, berms, retics, and boas gonna get attacked most, and then hopefully ball pythons never get included onto the list. We just make the white list and it just stays safe. Um, but the industry overall, I'm noticing, especially this past 2 years, is more people are investing in the higher end snakes than they are in the pet snakes. I can sell a $2,000 snake. It seems a lot faster than I can sell a $500 snake right now. The investors are there for sure, and I think in about 5 to 10 years, as ball python and price market levels out to the $1,000 mark, even on your investment animals, the market is no longer growing upwards, going to grow outwards, where you have more keepers and more breeders instead of this higher end and big market breeders. So as long as we can keep including and keep adding people, keep adding. Look at our group in Black Reptile Keepers. We're at 6,000 to 7,000 members.
Right.
We need to keep growing that market. We need to grow the Mexican market, the Hispanic markets. Miguel is constantly talking about growing Mexico. Getting that market going. And I'm shipping to Thailand, Indonesia, Korea, Philippines. I'm hoping to open Vietnam up this coming month, this coming year. So as long as we can grow these markets out where more people make it acceptable to keep ball pythons, I think the market's going to stay alive and strong, and I can hopefully buy another Corvette.
Yeah, so increase the demand. So
Yep.
you already kind of hit on like some potential like threats to the market.
Mhm.
One of the things that concerns me about the whitelist and maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but my understanding is there won't be like a due diligence
No,
process, or at least initially, to put
no.
animals on the white list versus the black
Right. It just
list. And so
seems
that's
like
kind of, it seems
they're not
shady.
first of all, they're not having herpetologists or biologists make this list. They're
Right,
having literally lawmakers. Okay, here's the list. This is what we want to ban. This is what we want to keep. And it's not like they're like, okay, we'll do some research. Basically, they'll be like, all right, whoever want to just type up this list. And a white list is extremely dangerous. Okay, that's like me telling you, okay, name off a bunch of species you want to keep. First of all, most people don't know enough species to put on that list to start with. If it was a
right,
blacklist where they're like, okay, name the species you want to ban, then it's easier, right? Okay, we want to ban retics, obviously, for because their size. We want to ban berms because they're all over in Florida. We want to ban, then it's a little bit easier, and it's a little bit easier for USARC to kind of dissect. But a
right.
whitelist, and let's say they give 500 species. All right, what about the 18,000 species? And what about the fish? What about the birds? What about all this? And then
Right.
that list makes it very difficult for our industry because we have so
Then
many species we keep.
and it's dangerous too, because like people who aren't in this industry, who don't understand herpetoculture, to some of those people, a snake is a snake. Like a ball,
Yep.
they don't care if it's a ball python or a cobra.
Right.
It's a snake.
And the wording is very dangerous for these lawmakers. They're gonna not gonna put ball python, ball python. We already know ball python's like the wimpiest animal. They're gonna put 6 foot constrictor,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that, right? Or they're gonna, like a Dumeril's boa. Dumeril's boa can get pretty large. So now they're gonna put 8 foot boa constrictor. Then all of a
right.
sudden that fear monger and people are like, oh my god, 8 foot boa constrictor, that'll kill
Boa
my baby.
constrictor.
All right.
Exactly. It's gonna
All right,
size you
that's
up and
gonna
eat you.
kill my baby, right? So people, the wording is gonna be extremely important. I think this is extremely important time for everyone to kind of band together and support USARC so that we can fight before it gets out of hand. And they once they take retics, man, they're gonna come for berms, they're gonna come for anacondas, they're gonna come for the boas, they're gonna come for anything that they deem dangerous, which could be almost anything, right? Hognose snake. And we all know how cute a hognose snake is. But remember, all they got to put in there is rear fanged venomous. They put
Venomous
that word
snake.
venomous in
Exactly.
there, and that's a dangerous animal, It can put you into anaphylactic shock. Oh my goodness. Like, come on, really. But as
Right.
soon as the wording is going to change the conversation.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. And that's one of the reasons it's so important to support USR too.
Right.
They're helping us fight that fight. All right. So that's the end of all the ball python reptile related questions. I do
All
got some
right.
random questions for you.
All right, cool.
So if you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be and why?
Oh man, that's tough. I actually love living in Georgia because I love the weather here. Actually, I complain
Oh,
about it a
South
lot.
Georgia boy.
Yeah, but dude, I can't live in the cold, right? When it's too cold, I complain all the time. And then I was in Mexico, it was way too hot, and I complain over there too. Um, Honestly, if I was to retire, right? If I was to retire and I made enough money off of this, I might move to Thailand, man. I'm watching
you
videos of people like living in like kings over there for like $80,
gonna
and you
train
get
Muay
like a
Thai?
5-star hotel. Yeah, it's
You gonna
nuts.
train Muay Thai when you get over there?
Hey man, I'm a little old for that, man. After 30, man, you start trying to Muay Thai and you got these 18-year-old whippersnappers kicking your butt, man.
Antoine can train you up.
Yeah, Anton kicked my butt too. I know it.
All right. So if you could have coffee with any historical figure in the world, who would that be?
Oh man, that's an easy one. I'd go with Steve Irwin, man. He is so
So
enthusiastic about this, about what he's passionate about, And just like if you watch his videos, like you can see his passion in this. And he even mentioned it. If he can make $1 million, even in the wrong way. He don't care who pays him. He's gonna make that money. He's gonna dump it all into conservation. That's the type of things I need to see. Like who cares how you made the money? Who's paying you? He's they're shaming him for making to going on TV and putting up this personality and doing all this. And he goes, who cares? They're paying me, and I can use all this money towards conservation. So like Steve Irwin will be for sure number one. Number two, I might go with Kobe. Man, I watch a lot of Kobe interviews, and that man is an intelligent human being.
yeah, and very, very,
Yeah.
very, very driven. Like
Yeah.
he's just passionate.
So Steve
Kobe
Irwin,
would have
number
made
one.
it. Yeah, Kobe would have made it in the ball python industry too. Yeah,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
definitely. So if you wrote a book tomorrow, what would that book be about and why?
Oh my gosh, a book? I don't think my life is interesting enough to make like an autobiography. Like it's just a ball python breeder. Like I haven't been through like enough cool life experience. If I wrote a book, oh, that's tough because I don't really know much. Like, no, who's gonna read a ball python book? You know, it's kind of boring.
I
Um,
don't know, bro.
I would write a book about my parents' life. I think,
I read this
yeah,
book.
there is a ball python book. I think I would write a book about my parents and my siblings on how they came to America. You know, my sisters came here on a boat to America on a boat. So this was in 19. I didn't come to America until 1993. As many people don't know, I wasn't born in America. I came to the States in '93. My
Okay.
sisters came to the States in the '80s. I want to say '83 or '84. This was before I was born. They came to America, and the way they made it over here was that came on a boat to the Philippines, and then from the Philippines to the U.S. And my parents put them on that boat without them. Like, look, they just sent their two daughters on a boat
Wow.
to another country.
How
That's
old were
how
they?
bad it was in Vietnam at the time. You know, you remember after the war and all this, my parents wanted a better life for my siblings, so they put them on a boat with my uncle and said, "Take them to America." And back then, you're not talking about a cruise. You're talking about a boat. You know, like your boat basically. They're telling me this boat, and they go by size. They're like, oh, so this big. You know, they're talking about a boat the size of like a fishing boat. You know, a regular fishing boat out here. Most of these guys have one in Florida. And they came to America, and my sister, my second oldest sister, wrote a letter to President Bill Clinton explaining our family situation to him. And my family got a special refugee pass in 1993 and flew out here. So my parents, my youngest sister, my older brother, five of us, flew out here and became permanent residents in Florida. And I didn't actually get my U.S. citizenship until 2007.
Got you. That'd be an
Yeah, so I
interesting
think
book, man.
that's a fun little story, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting book. That's an interesting story. What part of Florida were y'all in?
We went to Orlando. We have a
Okay.
great uncle that was second generation into Orlando, and he got my dad a job at the Marriott Hotel as a housekeeper. And we were
Okay.
so proud of him for getting like an American job. And he was like downplaying it, but then he took us out to his job and he was like, oh, we get to use the pool where everyone else is at too. We don't have to be in like, you know. So when he took us to the hotel that he's working at and we got to use the pool with blue water, and I'm like, holy shit, we made it. Like
No.
we in here, you
We
know.
made
Like,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Babu wins $10 million. How are you using it?
$10 million.
Ten
That's a lot
million
of
bucks.
money. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I know I should be saying like, oh, conservation and blah 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 and all this, but no, bro, I'm retiring. For $10 million, I would buy a guaranteed income annuity. That would pay me out $500,000 a year guaranteed, and with it could be more, but $500,000 guaranteed annually. And then I would buy a $10 million life insurance policy on myself in case I die, so that annuity continues. So I would be making $500,000 a year guaranteed. I would still keep ball pythons. I wouldn't have to breed at the scale I do now, so I would downscale it. But I'm guaranteed $500,000. I guess I can start investing in weird stuff. But then now that I'm a millionaire, I guess I will be. Then I can help the community, right? First of all, when people get handed $10 million, a lot of people go broke because they have good intentions but bad thinking, the
Right.
bad friends. They'll go buy their friends Corvettes and Cadillacs and stuff like that, and then they go broke, or because their buddy had an idea of opening a car wash and they spend $1 million. That's why I would go with the guaranteed income annuity, where I'd be guaranteed money for the rest of my life. And then at that point, I can be helping my friends out and helping my family, and then we can definitely look into conservation, which I would love. You know what I'd love to do is just buy a huge plot of land just so they can not develop on it, and then I can just live there and have my 1,000 acres of unbothered land.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope. So you mentioned you would downsize your collection. So what jeans would you be working with?
I would downsize. I would probably keep, I still want to hatch babies every week. So I would make it to where I can at least have 50 clutches a year. So every week I have
Okay.
something hatching. So I'd keep around 100 breeder females, something like that.
Okay.
That's still a lot of animals. That's still enough animals to, I can still keep a few really cool projects. My Desert Goes Clown, Desert Goes Pie, Desert Goes Xanthic projects. And again, since I'm guaranteed income at this point, I can hire someone to just take care of the collection, clean it, clean poop, so I don't have to do that.
You have to scrub
I'll
tubs.
show you what I did today. I mean, I had to wash that whole stack of tubs earlier today, so then I won't have to do that anymore. Just make life easier.
Living the good life.
Yeah.
All right. So what's one question you wish I would have asked you? And how would you have answered?
Um, Sometimes I wish more people would ask me with this on my interview on the interviews, because not a lot of people ask is about my significant other, my wife. A lot of people in this industry, I feel like are going into this. A lot of people are going into this alone, even when they are married. I don't know if you understand where I'm going with there.
I know exactly
Um,
what you mean.
right.
Not
So
from
a lot
experience
of
though, because I know my wife's
right, a
watching.
lot of you will feel
Go ahead.
like you're going into it alone. I sometimes I do get a little jealous when I have like a couple come over here and they're both interested and they're both into it. And I'm like, man, this would be really cool if my wife was interested too. But for me, it's actually great that she's not, because we get to spend 8 hours a day apart. So that when she comes home from work, she just got home from work, we can actually sit down and talk about our day and stuff, because we didn't spend the day together. But she's extremely supportive of what I do. We've been extremely successful and lucky in this industry. We've been lucky that we work hard enough to be lucky, I guess. But that's what she tells me. But when you have that support, it's so important. And in order to get that support from your significant other, like I mentioned, you just have to be passionate about it and show them that you are passionate about it. Because if you're passionate about it, she'll let you get away with a lot of stuff, man. I've done I've brought home animals. I hatched emus out of my incubator before. I've done some dumb stuff, man. We have really, she looked into the backyard and I have 80-pound birds running around my backyard. I mean, emu hatches out at 2 pounds, and I raised that animal
Wow.
for months, and you'll get to like little eye level within months, and she'll let you, your significant other will let you get away with a lot more stuff when you can actually show how passionate you are about all of this.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, great answer. Great answer. All right. So that's all the questions I got.
All
So
right.
want to tell everybody where they can find you?
All right, guys. So every Tuesday live on YouTube and on my Facebook. If I haven't added you on Facebook, do not be mad. They capped me off at 5,000 friends, so I have to go through and delete all the people from high school and stuff like that that's trying to sell me those body wraps and pyramid schemes. But I will get around to it. Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, you will see me at any major show. If you go to Tinley, Arlington, Daytona, St. Louis, any major show like that, I will be there. I'll be vending most likely. Swing by, talk, get some selfies, stickers. I love t-shirts and I love stickers. So if you have them, bring them to me and I'll swap with you. You can find me on Instagram. I'm being more active on Instagram now that I'm learning how to use it. And YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I have a TikTok. I'm really bad at posting, so I have like 8 videos. It's not that good.
Well, Bob, we really appreciate you coming out. I know you're a super busy guy, so I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. Definitely looking forward to talking to you in the future. Everybody who
Yes,
came
sir.
out
For
tonight,
anyone that hasn't
thank
seen my
y'all.
snake room, I guess I'll give you a quick tour.
Oh
Quick
yeah,
view.
definitely.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That's dope. Thank you everyone for coming out. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you.
For sure.
Have a
Click
good
that
night.
subscribe button, guys.